get is we're the thin green line. You know, if we say no, because we're the people, if we say no, we can stop the tar sands, we could possibly start the crude oil trains, because that's where they want to export to. They want to export to China because most of this stuff is for all of our plastics. So if we can stop these, that would be the miracle, because that would also, none of this stuff needs to be taken out of the ground. None of this stuff. So it's a trans-mountain pipeline, I think it is. That one is going into Barnaby, into Vancouver. It's going to increase tanker traffic. Right now there's about 4 a week tankers that go into Vancouver Bay. It's going to go up 700%. 700% from 4 a week, 700%. I haven't done the math, but it's really bad. Because what's really going to happen is we're going to lose our orcas. We have 79 orcas still left in this area. And then those orcas will lose their hearing because of those tankers. They're going to bump their heads when they come up, as well as they're also, we don't know how much they're going to leak. If there's anything that leaks into that bay, everything's going to die. I mean, we just had a diesel spill a week ago, last Sunday I think it was. Not this Sunday, but last Sunday, up in the clam beds on Vancouver Island, a little boat.
Today in Columbia, on the Columbia River.
Yep, today in the Columbia River, but on October 13th, up at Campbell River, there's another tribe that's lost their clam beds because of diesel spill. That's just diesel. When this stuff comes down from the tar sands, this isn't your normal oil. This oil sinks. If you look up the Kalamazoo River and you see what happened there, think of it hasn't been cleaned up, and that was over 5 years ago, if not, you know, it is not cleaned up. All they could do is put paper towels down, okay? So if this stuff comes down and goes into the Salish Sea, it will kill everything around it, and it goes down. You can't get it. It goes down. So all of that stuff underneath that, which means there's the orcas home, the Fraser River, well, it's almost dead because of silver mining, but all of that area. So, but what's really great is the tribes. The Lummi tribe, the Tsawwassen tribe, all the way up there, because of their rights and because of their treaties. That's where we need to stand, is stand with all the tribes, whatever one needs it along the way, because that's how we're going to win in court. That's how we're going to win with the Army Corps of Engineers. That's how we're going to win with the Department of Ecology and the Washington State. Write the governor. That's your most important thing right now. Email him, Facebook him. He knows. I talked to him. He knows. So that's the best thing you can do if you want to go outside of what's happening in Standing Rock. Start pivoting here. And not to say that Standing Rock, you know, we still need to support them, but there's a lot coming down. Start looking up Kinder Morgan, and there's going to be lots of fundraiser events coming up called Pull Together is their legal fund. And there's also, if anyone wants any speakers, I already have Cedar Parker George, who's ready to go with some Lummi Tsawwassen youth, ready to come out and speak to anywhere that you want. So there's lots of things that you can do. That's all I'd say at the moment. Did I miss anything? Does that help people?
I just wanted to add something. So, most of the land in British Columbia is unceded. So it's never, they don't actually have treaties in the majority of BC. It's territories that Indigenous people never gave up. They never made an agreement with Canada to give up their land. And just in the past couple of decades, the Supreme Court of Canada has increasingly recognized that those lands still belong to the Indigenous people. They still have to have a say over what happens on those lands, especially if something affects their traditional rights like fishing and hunting. So there was a big pipeline that was supposed to go through British Columbia, the Northern Gateway Enbridge pipeline, which Enbridge is the same company that built the pipeline that spilled in the Kalamazoo River, and they that pipeline would have crossed the territories of dozens of First Nations in BC and Alberta, and the company didn't do a proper consultation with the First Nations, and the government of Canada didn't do it, and the Supreme Court of Canada ended up ruling in 2014. It was this big ruling, and it was unanimous, for the Chilcotin First Nation in northern BC. They said, oh, this whole area that you claimed is like, that is still, you have title over that land, and if the government or if any company wants to build something, they have to seek your consent, which is very powerful because, you know, a lot of Indigenous people, they're saying, you know, we don't want projects to go through our traditional lands without our consent. But that's very, I think that's very powerful. So, you know, I'm from Mexico. I've been learning about, you know, treaties in Canada and the US. And there are treaties all over the US, and it's something that people aren't really familiar with, but it's something that is everybody's responsibility, because treaties are like, you know, it's like making an agreement with another nation, and the US has, you know, hundreds of treaties all over the country, and they've broken pretty much all of them, and now there's like a growing recognition that the US needs to honor those treaties.
I think putting pressure, definitely on these treaties, that's something people are becoming more and more aware of how they can happen before. Like asking from the bank, you know, and like you said, there's a lot of building that's going to be happening. If you can, you know, eventually, you know, we're kind of at the point where it's like learning how to lock yourself up to these machinery, and if you can't do that, then it's you know, helping fundraise, or, you know, prayer, you know, being a prayer warrior is very important. And those are all ways we can help right now, I think. Does anybody have any?
Not using plastics.
Yes, being aware of your daily use of, you know, what you're using every day, how you're getting around. That's all very important, small steps that we can be taking every day. Being aware of your water use, obviously, is very important. And I wanted to add on to what you asked Tabitha earlier about the Two-Spirit role, and what you said is definitely about, if there's any Two-Spirit people here, like, it's definitely about reclaiming your power, and you know, recognizing that we have a place in this fight, and we've always had a place in this fight, and colonialism has erased that for us, and so there aren't any records. But we know that Two-Spirit people have always existed, despite what other people might try to tell you, especially here in Washington with the anti-trans bathroom bill. Those people who are trying to get that through will tell you that trans people don't exist, and will tell you that we've existed forever. So that's something that you can be doing here in Washington too. When we talk about intersectionality, that's what that means. I was at, like I mentioned earlier, on Sunday at the No More Displacement March in the Central District, where, you know, when we talk about all these things that are happening in intersectionality, I mean, that is such a great example. There's gentrification happening, there's displacement happening, there's police, you know, brutality, and there's trans and queer racism, you know, phobia happening. A young trans woman in high school was arrested last week for trying to defend Omari and the Joma Peace Center. And on Sunday, while we were marching and talking about that, some neighbor, some white guy, just starts yelling all this anti-trans stuff. And so it's important to realize that that guy lives in the Central District. Those people live around us, and we need to be more aware of what's happening. You know, boycott Uncle Ike's. You know, it's just these small things. It's being aware of what's in your neighborhood, what's going on, what these people stand for, what they're bringing into our neighborhood, and do we want that or not. And so just being aware of what's going on is super helpful, and in the long run is all connected.
Yeah, and doing things that are in your power, especially for like white allies, putting people of color in positions of power, putting trans people of color in positions of power, queer people of color in positions of power if you have that. You know, a lot of people think that where we are right now in our country is because of who voted for the president, but it's who voted for our Congress. So, is that correct? Okay, thank you. Sorry, I'm going back to my history. But yeah, just like people don't have that knowledge, and like how you can start from your own local government and like sitting on those councils. Like that bathroom bill probably came from a council meeting, something like that. You know, those different. I don't know that specific one, but they start small and they get bigger. They get traction. So it's important to start small.
I just want to, somebody had mentioned about the needs of or having the Two-Spirit camp there at the Chiffe type of thing. I think that the important part about being the Two-Spirit is not only being Native and being in the LGBT mix, but also that spirituality. In order to be Two-Spirit, you have to be spiritual and walking a spiritual path. And that's why we started Two-Spirit Camp, because we knew that they needed the prayers of the Two Spirits to mend the hoops for that entire camp, so that we could all pray in a good way. So I think that part needs to always be added in there, for the definition of Two-Spirit and why we were there. It was for the prayer.
They should be here in 8 minutes.
8 minutes.
I also want to say,
pray a minute.
yeah, Nikita Oliver is also supposed to make a visit. Nikita Oliver, she's running for mayor, and that is something we're very excited about. She's running with the Seattle People's Party, and that's very exciting. Does anybody have any questions?
I do. I'm new to the Northwest. My background is environmental safety policy, and I got right into the ecological restoration field, working with saltwater habitat specifically in Florida. Working with a really huge project, Pensacola Bay System, a really polluted area. Our project was phenomenal because how simple nature works. And I'm really wanting to kind of track some of that ground here, and I'm interested in wondering if there are any current projects, people on the ground doing and working with these villages directly and doing anything to rehabilitate the environment.
Well, I don't know so much about spills, but there's been a great effort to restore the Duwamish River, which is a super fun site.
Oh, yeah.
And so there's like a whole, what's that? Oh, there's been a lot of energy put into restoring the Duwamish, which is the river over here by the port. It's a super fun site, so it means it's like extremely polluted. You really don't want to swim in it. But they've been spending quite a few years just like rewilding and helping to, and doing a lot of testing and trying to get the toxicity levels way down and helping the birds and the fish to come back. It's like Duwamish Alive or something. I don't know if anybody knows the name, but they've been working on that. That's the only thing that I know.
Okay.
But the spills, like as of spills, like I haven't really heard of anybody. There's not really a lot of plans that are made. I mean, they have like oil spill kits in some places that are more isolated, but other than that, I mean, yeah, I haven't really heard of much of anything else. But the sound is very polluted.
Any other questions? questions you
Tell
want to
us
know
some
about
stories.
Standing
What was
Rock?
your favorite thing about camp? Me and Leslie were talking about this yesterday while we were at the spa. We were talking about what were our favorite things about camp that we missed.
So many things, the smells, the fire, the music, waking up surrounded by your family.
Yeah. I really like that it was an Indigenous-centered space.
Can you talk about what that means?
An Indigenous-centered space. This one. It just means like in the outer world, there aren't like Indigenous-centered spaces. There are white-centered spaces. So being at Standing Rock, it was like Indigenous leadership. So people who sat on like the tribal council were from that land, and the person who ran our camp. Just like having Indigenous voices being heard, like our experience around resisting colonization, and the traditions that we bring and the medicines that we bring, and that just being heard and that being believed and not being practiced. Like, that was that.
Did you get any support from the community up there outside of the camp? No?
Did I
People that
sorry.
live in the town there, Standing Rock?
Like Mandy?
Oh, yes.
You did?
Should I jump on to that? Yeah, I mean, and if anybody wants to talk about Standing Rock and Cannonball, which was the nearest town, I mean, I don't have any gathered thoughts. Everybody have any gathered thoughts?
Well, I mean, there's a difference. I mean, there's Mandan, where, I mean, I went to Mandan and Bismarck. Bismarck is, what, the capital of North Dakota, which is about an hour away or less, where you have to go get your supplies, where there, I mean, I went to a pizza place where I was one of two people in the audience, in the customer place, and this woman just wanted to talk about, she just wanted to talk, and I'm like very open. I'm like, yeah, hey, how are you? And she's like, where are you from? I'm like, oh, California. And she was like, oh, well, you're in Trump land now, baby. And I was like, what? Am I in the movie? So that's that kind of non-support that you get. But also, something that was really meaningful to me on my second trip back, on the way through, we stopped at a gas station on Standing Rock Reservation, and people from there wanted to come. They said, Mini-Wachoni, water is life. And so we talked, and for something that this woman asked us was, what next? Like, what's going to happen after? What about what's going to happen to us when you leave? You know, this is our land, and there have been years and years of relationship building between, the tribes and the rest of the community. And when we go to Mandan and we go to Bismarck and we're going to, buy our pizza, we get a lot of shit, a lot of racism. And so, I think it was really, I was really grateful that she said that, and that to put that into our purview for us to be thinking about while we were there too.
Yeah. With the nearest town that I could see nearby was Cannonball, and then there was Fort Yates. And I mean, it just, lots of reservations have like lack of resources, and I just, our low income, I don't know how to say it, like, people are impoverished. Going to a place like that and having all of these donations come into camp, a lot of those donations were rerouted because we didn't need all of those things, which was really good for that movement to do that. However, yeah, we were on their land, and I mean, it's just a culture shock to have like thousands and thousands of people rolling into your town, taking up your resources, taking up your space. And so I would say it was a lot of help for them to be like, you can come and stay here for free, and a lot of people with good intentions were there, but there are a lot of people who do not come in a good way also. They were low, sort of had a little dump on their, on what they were going on there too, but the resources that we had, we were able to like reroute to the people who needed it there. But that's just, it's just 1 year of resources, or it's 1 month of resources, or whatever it is that they need out there. We're really putting when people who are taken from their lands and then put into a corner of their land. That's what that looks like, and not given the resources. That's what it looks like. And that's been true for so long. That's something that's new. And so, yeah, I would say that they were very helpful. A lot of people from that land were at Standing Rock and were very representative and shared their ways. And I would also say that the women also took up space. And I don't know, now that people aren't there anymore, I mean, there was a cleanup that happened during the evacuation, but because people were moved in a hurry and weren't able to clean up the rest, like that's still, all that is still there. And then all the energy in that space is still there, all that trauma and stuff that's still there. Yeah, but I could say that, having an influx of thousands and thousands of people really messes up the groove. The traffic, I mean, the 1806, the highway that is directly connected to Bismarck is still blocked, I believe. Okay, yeah, okay, that's what I read just last week, that it's still blocked, which means that they have to travel, I don't know, an hour more than they would usually have to travel to get those resources, emergency vehicles, which is one of the reasons why that fight was put up so long and why that road was blocked. But really, yeah, like disenfranchising the community of the resources that they were already not getting enough of.
I kind of want to mention that I was talking to Regina Gray, which is an organization, like CIA, Cowboys, Indians Association or something. But like they have good relations with the farmers around there. And it's just like anywhere, I guess. People are people everywhere you go. Because I remember being in the Capitol doing an action, and there's girls coming out the windows, standing on top of their houses, like, yeah, like cheering for us on the house side, like just on the street as we're marching, and then there's hate. Hate on the other side of the street. I don't know where I was going. A war in Pincom, on the Kalispell Reservation, in Washington, other side of the state. I was there until I got kicked out. I feel like I got kicked out of my house like 4 times while I was living there.
How do they justify that? I'm sorry. I mean, it's your land, right? I mean, the land of the people. They're exactly.
And I felt
It just doesn't,
adopted like that.
it doesn't even.
When they invited me there, like they kind of took me in like family. So I kind of felt like I was standing up for their rights too. Like, it's like, we need you there, so you might as well act like they're your rights too, because they are. Might not be my land, but definitely felt responsible. So it's your duty. Go up and do it. I don't know. We were talking earlier, so if you want it done, go do it yourself. So, if you want to clean up oil, let's go clean up oil. Want to make food, let's make food. What else? Yes, just massive human rights issues. UN was there, condemned their actions twice. There's other ways we're attacked too, just fear, inciting fear. I swear half the time people run up to me like they're scared, like they're chicken with their head cut off. Like, it's okay. But they might come in at us. Well, they might. But you can't be scared. anti-media. So I was thinking we should have this anti-media. Call out people who are straight up lying about us. I see.
Rumors. The rumors.
Yeah, a lot of rumors at camp. I think something I brought back definitely. Don't spread rumors for anything. Like gossip, none of that's done in a good way. If you're spreading something you heard that you don't know for sure, that's not done in a good way. So just avoid doing that, especially we're trying to build movements here. So that's something to keep in mind. So the Two-Spirit Nation is here. They're finding parking right now. In the meantime, I wanted to invite a special guest. I want to thank so much Nikita Oliver for coming. If you don't know Nikita, I'm so glad that you're here to witness her. She is running for mayor this year. I met Nikita and I have been on some shows before. She's a poet as well as an attorney, but we had never met face to face until I saw her at Standing Rock. Actually, I saw her on Facebook Hill, and I was like, well, I cannot not go introduce myself. So I was very grateful to have you here and to have met you there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for introducing yourself as well. If y'all don't know, DJ does a lot of really incredible stuff here, so I'm sure most of y'all do know, but a lot of honor and peace to you, respect. I'm gonna share a poem with y'all, if that's okay.
Yeah.
But I'm first gonna start with just talking a little bit about my experience at Standing Rock. I ended up going because a friend of mine texted me literally 7 days before and said, hey, like, a bunch of clergy are gonna go to Standing Rock and they're going to say that the discovery doctrine was a really messed up thing to do, and like we should go and hold them accountable to some like real action, because words and deeds are not quite the same thing, and if they just go and they say like the discovery doctrine should be repudiated and then leave, that's pretty messed up. And he was like, and I know you're not clergy, but you're a lawyer, and lawyers really benefit off this doctrine, and am I allowed to cuss in here? Okay. And he was like, that's really fucked up. So he was like, I implore you to come with. And I was in class, I was teaching 11th graders at Franklin. I said, yeah, okay, duh, let's go. And we just figured it out within a week. And we drove there with two other friends of ours, one of whom is blind. And a lot of people kept telling her, like, you should not go, you cannot go. And she just knew that that was a place for her to be, and so she responded to that call. And a friend of ours drove with her, and so we just packed up two vehicles and went. And when we arrived there, we were not sure where to go to stay. We had all the supplies, and people had told us like a few of the camps, but we ended up at the Two-Spirit camp and ended up around folks who were just so incredibly kind and caring and loving. And we hadn't yet found our friend Tabitha, who was there, but there were folks who basically just said, hey, like, we're gonna help you set up, we're gonna show you where to sleep, and then we're gonna show you where all those clergy are so you can go handle them. So the next day, there was the ceremony, and it was challenging to be there, because as a Black person, I'm always looking for spaces that are our spaces. And to see so many white folks kind of taking over the camp, and not necessarily giving back in deed, felt colonial. And so I was really blessed to have the opportunity to have someone like Tabitha show us around the camp and show us how to be accountable in the camp. And that's really one of the like major lessons I took from going to Standing Rock, was we organize. When we hop onto someone else's movement, we can co-opt it, especially as people with power and privilege, or we can get in line and undergird it. And I think it's really important that white folks and non-native folks learn what it means to come behind and alongside Native peoples. And what it means when we say things like we honor the land or we honor those tribes, and yet we don't do anything in deed. Those pastors came out and were really only there for one day, so how much gas was spent to get them there, how much investment in the fuel industry was used just to get them there to do this thing in word. And so I think it's really important that we start holding people accountable to attaching their words to actual deeds, because if we really were about repudiating the discovery doctrine, many of those churches, those church leaders' churches are built on native land, and or maybe they're on reservations, and they're a part of a whole colonial structure that has contributed to the genocide of our native family. And that wasn't remotely discussed, and the idea of actually taking action steps forward wasn't discussed. So we really need to start thinking about, when we say these things in word, what are we willing to do in deed to make sure that all of our progressive thoughts actually meet progressive action so we can truly progress forward. The second thing I wanted to say was, when I got back, I felt bad that I wasn't still there. And what I realized was, there's so much work to be done here in this space. And some incredible Native leaders are leading an indigenous movement to divest from projects like Doppel, and divest from banks that are investing in killing our mother, because we cannot survive. No one can live here if we continue to pollute and rape and pillage the earth. No one will live. Black, brown, and poor people, we're the canaries in the mine. Like we get the hit first and we get it the hardest, but everyone is eventually going to suffer if we continue to treat our mother the way that we are. And so there's so much work to be done here around divestment, locally and globally, pushing our political leaders to be accountable and transparent and to make decisions that actually honor our humanity. And I hope that as the group that I'm working with, the People's Party, continues to work, that folks will hold us accountable. I invite you to call me out publicly and ask you to call me out publicly. And I commit to being someone who responds to that with humility, because that's what we need. We're gonna survive past this next 4 years and survive past the things that humanity has already done to our mother, and in particular colonialism and capitalism has. We've got to start having people that are willing to take criticism and critique as an opportunity to be better and to do better, as opposed to dig our heels in and double down on systems we know don't work. So I'm going to share this poem with y'all. This is basically my mantra for how I believe we heal ourselves. And I strongly believe that Black and Native solidarity is essential to seeing ourselves get out of the situation that we're in, because our peoples have survived together on this landmass since Black folks were brought here. And that relationship is essential to healing this space, dealing both with Black enslavement and the genocide of Native peoples. If we don't begin to center reparations with that issue, we're never going to fully heal. And so I commit myself to working in accountable relationship with Native folks, believing that Native sovereignty is also my sovereignty. When we allow something like unjust laws to determine what sovereignty is, then it's just sovereignty in facade. And it's a way that the colonial government continues to further divide and conquer us. So I hope that we can continue to build and mend that relationship, because it's for all of our health. When I tell people I'm a boxer, they almost always ask me the same 3 questions. 1, when you get hit, does it hurt? 2, do you ever bleed? 3, you mean you really actually take punches? See, I'm thinking, duh, it's boxing. But my mama raised me right, so I just say, yes. And all of a sudden because see, most people are afraid of blood. Most people are afraid of seeing blood. Most people are most afraid of seeing their own blood. So I tell them, this is not the first time I've held my own blood in my hands. Watch the red droplets pool after a string of fighting words that smash hard against my face. I am learning boxing and life are really not that much different. My coach keeps telling me, Nikita, you've got to learn to keep your eyes up. But truth is, I still haven't learned how to keep my head up. So as coach cleans me up, I stare into the carnage, settled into the folds of my flesh, the looking glass of my family tree, and I think, dang, is this all that I'm made of? See, Muhammad Ali said, because yes, All boxers must quote the champ, Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali said, if they can make penicillin out of moldy bread, then they sure can make something out of me. So tell me my blood, my body, what I'm made of, so I may know exactly what I could be made into. Spare me no record of wrongs, that I might not become a broken record, repeating my family's history time and time and time again. Let me open every closet in this house, as I'm sure there's more closets in this house for me to hide my own skeletons. Tell me about my mother's father, how he liked white sheets in the dark of night, his cross set ablaze and burning in the eyes of little girls that look no different than me, and how he liked his bottle empty and his woman silent. Tell me about how my mother's mother filled up all of the empty and the silence, how she built herself up a broken home around my mama. Show me my mama. Little girl huddled on a floor in a corner beneath a roof too holy to shelter her from the downpour of belts and hands. Tell me about my father's father. Tell me a sharecropper story of backbreaking work and empty stomachs filled to the brim. Let me hear my father's mother sing our Negro spirituals. She'd be like, I sing because I'm happy. I sing because I'm free. Can you hear her singing? How she built liberation on her own melody and taught us to sing ourselves free. How she taught her children to flee before they could grow too high above this corn and cotton and be plucked, as their hearts beat hard against streams, flexed like rubber and melted down to once again be plow and ox. Let me feel how cotton and plastic feel no different in your palms when your bootstraps still refuse to fit this so-called American dream. Please, show me just one dream. How black and white have always been the making of a classic movie. Show me the stars and my parents' eyes when they found out they were having this sick but sweet little baby. And my mother once again finds herself in a corner, but this time on a cot in a hospital, and my father, who was so used to fleeing danger that he cannot figure out how to stay firmly put, teach me how to stay firmly put. Remind me I am a boxer, I am a fighter, that there is no rot or rust or mold that I cannot transform. Remind me that I am my own medicine, that I am my own medicine, that I am my own medicine. So you, who also have rot and rust and mold, you too are your own medicine, and together we are the greatest medicine we could ever transform. Together we are our own medicine. We are our own medicine. We are our own medicine.
Oh.
And before I leave this space, I just want to pay honor to some of our elders who I see here. We would not exist if it wasn't for y'all leading us and teaching us how to be here in this space. So I honor y'all, and I appreciate the ways that you brought us forward. So thank you.
Nikita, everybody. Nikita Oliver for mayor. Remember that face, remember that name. We're changing the world out here. I'm very inspired. It's very beautiful. Our guest of honor here, it's my honor to introduce the Standing Rock Two-Spirit Nation. If you could please come up. Welcome. Thank you for being here. We just came from a long drive.
Shower?
There's more seats up here. If anyone needs a seat, there's a chair there. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourselves.
Hi, my name's Yahaira. It's good to be here.
I'm Andre. I go by they, them, and that bitch pronouns.
What's up, everybody? I'm Yo-Yo, he, or they.
I'd like to greet each and every one of you with a handshake from my heart. I'm Candy Brings Plenty, and I identify as a queer, indigenous, two-spirit, Oglala Lakota Sioux cis woman. And I go by she, her, hers, they, them, theirs. Yes, please.
My name's Phoenix, Paytalapiaso, Cree First Nations, Scots. Go by he and they pronouns. Good to be here.
So you know us. I use he and they pronouns, and if you came late, my name is TJ.
My name's Hoopla, and I go by they, them, theirs.
So my name is Candy Brings Plenty, as I said, but I'm also the founder, and in Lakota we like to use the word itancha because there isn't a word for chief or leader. It's just the representative who speaks at the council, and that's exactly the role that I played with the Two-Spirit Nation. And I know initially there absolutely was a camp that had started, and it was initiated by Courage, and I want to give him that, that honor. But I had initiated my walk. Prior to that, I'm also a graduate from Portland State University, and I have a bachelor's in Native American Studies, specifically in tribal laws and treaties, and also I pursued my graduate certificate in public and nonprofit management and public administration. So I felt like everything that I've worked towards, both spiritually and within my culture, learning my language, growing up, following the footsteps of my grandpa and my great-great-grandpa, as I'm a descendant of the Crazy Horses band. My great-grandfather's grandfather is the whipman for Crazy Horses band. And so I just felt this calling, and it was beyond just a calling. It was, I seen this place, and I heard, and I felt in every component in my spiritual being that this was an opening, this was a door, this was a time and place for the Two-Spirit walk of life to stand back up and to reclaim our place in the sacred circle. And I knew that Ocheti Shakowee was and is and will be the most historical gathering of nations. And so I knew the only way to continue moving forward, as this was a Lakota, Dakota, Nakota based ceremony, and they had put out the call, that I would absolutely have to embrace every piece of my Lakota spirituality, my language, my songs, my prayers, the protocols, the ceremonies, and that's exactly how I pursued. And in August, I was at Sundance, and I heard my niece, and in our culture, our maternal siblings' children are your children. So my niece, Juliana Brown Eyes Clifford, she had gotten arrested obstructing the first auto gate whenever DAPO was very first coming to bring their equipment. So I knew that this was absolutely a call to me, and she had asked me to come out and to represent what the Two-Spirit walk of life looks like. So that's the very big difference between the intentions of the Two-Spirit Nation, is to move forward and to claim our place, to continue reclaiming our place, to continue being seen and heard for our sacredness, to continue reclaiming all of the spectrum of the fact that we are indigenous people with indigenous languages, and that we have been colonized, we have been oppressed, and within that, our sacredness was taken from us as well. We played roles as counselors, leaders, mediators, foster parents, healers, medicine people, and at Ocheti Shakowee, we reclaimed each and every one of those places. And it got to the point where we were no longer introducing ourselves. People were asking us if we could educate them. People were greeting each and every one of us individually with these appropriate pronouns that we use, because they learned and they saw, because we led by example. We continued to carry ceremonies, we continued to follow protocol, and we led our camp from day one, knowing that we were going to endure the elements of winter. We knew that we were going to stay through whatever type of physical and psychological abuse that was put in front of us. And we were absolutely targeted on many cases, not by our own camp, but because we stepped forward and we were recognized because we continued to come back. And I also want to acknowledge Mackenzie, our ally, who was also there during one of the events where, you know, over 100 DAPL officers and police officers are standing there while we were marching forward, and one of the DAPL workers attempted to run over one of our Two-Spirit elders, and Mackenzie got and stood in front of them and, you know, kept this deranged driver from running over one of our sacred elders. And when he got to the top of the hill, he got out of his truck and he fired 7 live rounds at us. And the police officers didn't do anything about it. They held their ground, they let it happen, and he got to drive away. However, if it was one of us, it would be a whole different situation. And so the reason why my heart continues to go out to Mackenzie is because as I was walking in, I heard the person before us talking about Indigenous leadership. And there absolutely was a protocol. There was the orientation, and there was the expectation of every person who came in that door would leave their colonized way of thinking at that door. They would leave the intentions that they had the right idea for Indigenous people at that door. So they came to serve and to empower and to lift up Indigenous leadership. And so during that time, they went through and they talked to each of the people who were witness and took their names and their statements so they could list them in this article. And when it came to Mackenzie, Mackenzie had said that they didn't need to be named, you know, and that really spoke a lot about not only Mackenzie themselves as an ally, but also our camp and the movement that we were working towards, where leadership in all forms was blossoming. So I just wanted to give a shout out to you again. Thank you for that. But I'm going to begin, I do often like to story tell, but every morning we would begin with prayer, and I know that DJ had said he also has medicine, but for my walk of life, for my protocol, I want to begin and ask everyone to stand, please. Everything we do begins with prayer, with ceremony, and ends with prayer and ceremony. Anytime we're giving our energy, we're sharing medicine. Anytime we're offering songs, we're exchanging energy, continuing that medicine. So I want to honor that for each